didn't have beds. They slept outside, and they sang and stuff. Under the stars, they would sing.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that, because that creates a very charming picture.
And I got pictures of this. They would all get in circles and sing.
Aww.
And any individual you talked to had dignity. They weren't downbeaten. They all had a purpose. They all had a function. And they all felt like they contributed.
And they treated each other nicely?
Very well.
Yes. See, that's so impressive.
And the little ones, and they had just little ones that are babies that they wear them on their back.
Aw.
You know, which was really interesting. As soon as they wrap them in on their back, their little head sticking out, is sleeping.
Aw.
You must hear the mother's heartbeat. You know, so.
Yeah.
That's so cute, isn't it?
Yeah. So you go to the orphanage and it's poor enough, you pretty much empty your pockets when you get there because it affects you.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
But the people there that run it, high spirited, you know, the loving heart, just.
So those children are being loved, which is more important than clothes.
Yep. And they weren't belligerent, they weren't nasty, and they weren't hard. They were cooperative. You know, the kids that are 2-3 years old just played.
Aw.
You know, they played with sticks. They played with, one had a water bottle like this one, and he played with that. He put stuff in it, played with it. They're very content. And again, we don't have too much to teach them about culture. They got a really neat culture. And there's another thing we talked about a little earlier was in such a hot country, you would think, it's hot and humid, you think people would smell bad.
Yeah.
But they don't.
That, yeah.
And water is scarce. You got to carry it a long ways. But everybody's clean.
That's amazing,
and the clothes
isn't
are clean,
it?
And they may live in a mud brick house with dirt floor and tin roof, but there's clotheslines on every one of them.
Huh.
They wash their clothes. There's a culture. And I think I talked earlier about people felt sorry for the women that had
Yeah, this is a good story. That's the other story I really like.
yeah, they had to walk so far for water every day to come back to the village. So people got together and got money to dig a well. And then the women wouldn't use it because a big part of their culture is the women got away from the men and the babies and kids headed for the
time out?
They missed their girl time.
they wanted the ladies all to get together, and they were missing that. It's part of their culture. So I was impressed with it, you know, and I didn't come away feeling sorry for people. I tend to feel more sorry for people who have lost a sense that they can do something about something and hope for a better future. Mm. They all had hope. They all believed they could do something about their condition.
So what is their better future vision?
They all want to do better, that I in the class, but they want to make a difference in their community. They want to help out. They're trying to get educated. Everybody in the class, there was one from the orphanage, he was sponsored. And our local professor here, I give him a lot of credit. He has a lot of, he calls them sons and daughters. He just kind of adopts them. And it's not a real adoption or anything, but he pays for the college.
Aw.
And if he sees they got something, he'll pay for the college. Otherwise, they would never be able to go to college.
Aw.
I don't know what college costs there. I don't think it's, you know, real
Where
expensive
is the
there.
University?
They're everywhere. They're in the churches got universities. The church is a big deal there.
What denomination of church is it?
Boy, there's all kinds of them.
Oh, that's good.
Catholic, Lutheran, Episcopalian.
Good.
Okay.
Let's see. What was the other one? I don't know. There's a lot of them, and it's everywhere. And they're very spiritual people. And they have a deep spiritual life. They talk about it. So it's just not what I expected.
Yes.
Not at all.
That's really cool, though. So when you came back, I'm sure you went through culture shock, not to mention jet lag.
Definitely had jet lag.
So the entitlement was something that you spoke of.
Yeah, they don't have a sense of entitlement, and I think in this class I teach on how to bring something the future doesn't exist now, one of the things that stop you from having a future that you could build for yourself is a sense of entitlement. And basically it's because you look outside yourself rather than to yourself for solutions. And I'm afraid the people out there don't take that good care of you. You won't die, but you won't prosper. So once you're trapped into that thought process, it gets hard to get out of it. So I didn't see that there, that they felt entitled to anything. You know.
Do you think that there's communities or families maybe here in the United States that have those same kind of values?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of good families. There's a lot of good people in this world wanting to make a difference in the community that I live in. And I think some people get trapped in some very difficult situations, and I think that once you become dependent, it's really hard to break away from that. So I think but there's an awful lot of people that are not trapped in that or not caught in that. And you see all kinds of programs of people trying to help other people in this community. I think you're one of them that's trying to make a difference. You were talking about an effort you were doing about a nonprofit that you want to do.
Yes, the Devolution Project. And there are so many, we're very lucky in this area. There's so many organizations that help people, like the Women's Shelter, Underground Railroad, Girls on the Run, Shelter House. We're very blessed, and our community really steps in, Good Samaritan Homeless Shelter, and our community really sets up and supports those places. We did, this was very interesting to me. We did Easter dinner. It was our 4th or 5th Easter dinner that we do for the Good Samaritan. Mm-hmm. And we have a food drive, and then we actually go and help prepare, serve, and clean up Easter dinner. And we went on a tour this year of the facility, and because we got there really early. And it was so impressive to me how full their refrigerators are, how full their pantry is, and the things that they do to help people get started. They have, like, the goal is to not keep you there. The goal is to help you get out of there. And when you leave, if you don't have anything, they give you towels and clothes and carpets and bed sheets and all these things, and that's all donated from our community.
So it gets people a start, a place to get going again.
Right. And if you can't get going on your own, but you're starting to pick up speed, there's some apartments there that you can rent, and you can still eat at their facility. I mean, there's like these step programs to get you back out on your own again. And I'm sure that that's true across the United States, but it impresses me that how well supported they are by our community. And it makes me feel good about living here, because those are good people that are doing things.
Yeah, I think people get caught up into, if you're unemployed and it's hard to get employed, or if you're not educated enough, or you haven't developed a sellable skill, it makes it very tough. I talked to a group of felons, and
it's so hard for them to get hired, huh?
Very, very hard.
Yeah, because it's asked on every application.
Yes, and the risk of hiring a felon is really extreme. I have a business, and because if I am aware, so I have a felon that was selling drugs, and he's not that anymore, and he wants to rebuild his life. But if he would fail and sell drugs to one of the employees, for example, I was aware of what he was before I hired him, and therefore I become accountable.
Oh.
So if somebody raped somebody 30 years ago, and I hire him, so one of the employees get raped, they hold me accountable because I was aware of the problem.
So that's why they don't want to hire you.
Right.
Wow.
I never knew that. Did you?
I didn't either, no.
Yeah, you become accountable. Now, I was to a church in Midland, a Lutheran church, that's trying to do something about that. So they set up a business that just does repair of appliances and sells appliances. But it's at its own LLC. It's protected by itself. So it's an identity of its own, and it's very small, and that's what it does. It works with felons. So it gives the people a chance. And my suggestion was the entrepreneur world doesn't care.
Right.
Nobody's
Right.
ever asked me if I'm a felon or not.
Right.
So there's a different way to make a living. There's a lot of needs to fulfill. So I was kind of encouraging them to look at that. But I think, a lot of them were self-employed already, but they got into high risk. Very high risk that cost you your freedom.
Right. Yeah, but if they can do it with that, they can
Could
sell
do
other
it.
things.
Yes, they could. And so I want to do something about that. Okay, I want to bring entrepreneurship to that group of people. But then maybe we can find a way, because they did in Midland. They found a way to hire felons. Mm-hmm. And I went there last weekend, and it was they have grocery stores, they have garages to get your car fixed, but they're helping people who are trying to break the dependency and function on their own. The people that are on assistance, they don't do much with that because they already have assistance. But the people who are just poor, trying to make it, have a job, doesn't pay all that great. The car breaks down, they're in big trouble, so they want to help them. But everything is you have to pay for. Groceries they buy by bulk, you can buy it lots cheaper, but you have to pay for it. And then they charge just enough to pay their heat and light and rents, so that it can go on and on and on. So I was really impressed with that. So there's people doing things that matter.
Does this organization have a name?
It's a Lutheran church in Midland, and I forgot the name of the church.
That's very interesting. Do you think there's other churches doing that as well?
I would like to see that happen in my area, Saginaw area, because I think there's a need for it, and I think it's self-sustaining, and it helps people break dependency. Right.
So we were talking earlier about people that get stuck in that loop where they think that that's how they need to live, and it happens all over the United States. I told you she's trouble. Sandy's trouble.
She's throwing things.
I know. I'm turning her mic off. That get stuck in that loop, and it happened when I lived in California. I knew of a couple people that were stuck in that loop where the mom taught the daughter that that's how you live. The grandparents live like that. The daughter lived like that. The granddaughter, right?
And it works.
It perpetuates itself, and yet sometimes people break out of that.
It's very hard to break out of it. But it has a cost. It has a price. And once you're in it, there's missings. And once you're taken care of, you are, there's dignity comes with self-sufficiency.
Right.
And so it's hard to get that. And it's hard to have purpose when you're taken care of.
So what do you think makes somebody want to break that vicious cycle?
I think it's natural to us.
You think that even though you were raised like that,
it's still natural to us. And we talked about it a little earlier. I got 3 rules before I give anyone
yes,
anything.
I like those rules, yes.
Tell those rules.
One of them is it can't separate us. The other one is it cannot make them dependent on me. And the other one is it cannot rob them of their dignity in any way. And we all understand this really well because we don't do it to we follow those rules for our own families.
Mm-hmm.
You would not lend your son money if you know he can't pay you back because he will avoid you.
Mm-hmm.
It'll start to separate you. So we understand it. And as far as dependency, once you make somebody dependent, it's not a gift. They get trapped in it. And the cost is the dignity of self-sufficiency. And it's hard to get out of that. It's really hard to get out of that. So it's not a gift. And
that's kind of where entitlement comes from. You start that, and then they think that that's how it's always going to be.
Yeah, and they're right. They lose the concept that they can make a difference. I can